Math and Aliens, an in-depth look at horror and sci-fi TV from two friends who vaguely know what they're doing. I'm MK.
And I'm Courtney.
I almost thought I was Courtney.
I didn't know why you had a little bit of hesitation.
How are you?
I'm okay. I'm fine. I'm doing well. We're still together.
Yes.
It's been a busy time. So like I mentioned last week, I just got back from Chicago. And it was amazing. I love Chicago. I went for work, but then played a lot too. So me and Caitlin went, and she had a couple of shows that I had booked, and we learned there is not a music scene in the city. It is just in the suburbs.
That's wild.
That's a wild thing to learn, and it's more inconvenient to learn after you get there than before you go. But we made it work. So we did a couple open mics and stuff, and we did some touristy stuff because I've never been to Chicago. I've always wanted to go. So went to the Bean, took some pictures. We did what we call fast boat, slow boat. So slow boat was the architecture tour that everyone talks about, and it was so much fun. I love a good tour. I love a good architect.
Yeah.
And they have the woman who built the tallest tower in the world is from Chicago. Or the tallest building in the world is from Chicago. And the Burj Khalifa,
which is the tallest building in the world.
right.
Yeah.
So there's a minimum small replica. I forgot words for a minute.
A miniature?
Miniature, thank you. A miniature of it that she also built to be in Chicago, and then the Burj Khalifa was based off of that.
Got it.
So that was really neat too. So I learned a lot about architecture. Saw buildings that made me very concerned about them being buildings, because they were like, one is shaped like a pencil on the end. So like this is the bottom.
Yeah.
And it's like this and then goes up.
Yeah, I've seen buildings like
and
that.
it makes me very uncomfortable. But it's fine, I guess.
It's okay. One of my favorite buildings in Thailand looks like a Jenga tower. It like has like randomly places out where like it looks like Lego blocks are pulled out of it. And I showed it to Dan, and he goes, "Absolutely not."
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. I am not about that. I like to look at those buildings. I think they are beautiful. I would like them to stay over there. That is how I like the building. So we did slow boat, and then fast boat. We did one of the Sea Dogs. It's kind of like, it's basically like riding a jet ski but on a boat.
Okay.
It was so much fun. It went very fast. They had lots of music playing, and it was shorter. It was only half an hour, but it was so much fun. It was down at the pier, so we went down to Navy Pier and did that. And my friend Zach just moved there, the one that we talk about sometimes. He just moved there. So I got to see him a couple of times, which was really fun, because neither of us have seen each other since we moved. Because he moved from Philly a month before I moved from New York. And so we did that. We did the boat. I did the Ferris wheel, even with my fear of heights.
I'm proud of you.
I was very nervous, but I did do it. And then it was not so bad because it is fully enclosed.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, it's Chicago, so it has to be. But, like, I'm just not a big fan of those heights. I did not do the one where you, like, the edge thing where you, like, lean forward.
Oh, absolutely not. I'd rather kill myself.
I saw pictures of that from when my old boss did it, and I was like, I'm going to throw up right now. Like, we're standing on the floor of the bar, and I feel like I'm going to fall over.
Yeah.
So I absolutely did not do that. But I did try Portillo's. I had a hot dog. We did deep dish pizza, which I had for the first time. Didn't hate it.
It's not pizza.
So the one we had was a little more like it because it wasn't soupy, but it was a little more like if you combine like shepherd's pie and pizza.
Yeah, and that's
because the way the crust is.
That's the thing is, it's not about the flavor.
Mm-hmm.
It's about the fact that like I don't want to have to eat my pizza with a fork.
Well, and that's the thing. We went to this place called Lou Malnati's. And it's like family owned. It's like one of the oldest pizza places there. And you didn't have to do that. Like, I could pick it up and eat it like a piece of pizza.
But was it like, I just feel like it's a cake. You gotta bite it like a cake.
Not this one.
Okay.
That's what I thought too, because I've never had it before until now.
Yeah.
So I'm sure there are many like that. There are plenty I've seen that look soupy that I'm like, this is a lot of sauce. This is a lot of everything that I don't.
Oh no, I don't even like sauce.
I don't like sauce that much either. That's why I was also concerned about it.
Yeah.
But this one, we just did regular like pepperoni, nothing crazy, just to try it, and it was A+. So, so I did all the Chicago things, and it was a great time. I think that's all I did I learned about all of the colors of the lines. And everybody was like, you took that line. I don't know how you got there. And I was like, yeah. Just did all those things. We walked 8 miles both days that we were in the city. Most of the time we were out in the suburbs, but we did walk a lot while we were in the city. So that was really nice. And it was just, it was a wonderful time. We stayed with one of our friends' moms, and she was just absolutely lovely. They're Irish and Polish, and she's really into, like, she's a Reiki master, really into, like, spirituality and stuff. And so we had a lot of good, like, late night conversations, and it was just, it was work. I was tired. I did a lot. I talked to a lot of people, and but it was worth the 13-hour drive there and back.
Nice.
And I'm already ready to go back to Chicago. And Rachel's cousin lives there, and so I got to see him the last night, and he has invited me to come anytime, and I told him that wasn't safe, because
it was not safe, no.
I may just show up at his door, because he also told me that there are sometimes tickets for $50 from Chicago to New Orleans round trip. And I said that is even worse for you to have told me, because I will absolutely show up at your door now.
Yes.
But I mean, it wouldn't be the first time.
Yeah.
I mean, he basically lived with Rachel for a while, so, like, I would show up at their places, their family. But yeah, so that's how I am. Oh, and when we left Chicago, we ended up leaving a little bit early so that I could knock off my bucket list. Stopping at the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in Cleveland. Because I was like, when on earth am I ever going to be in Cleveland?
I've driven by the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame like 8 to 10 times. Never stopped.
Why? Why would you? It's what are you doing in Cleveland? There's nothing to do. They have 2 buildings. We watched this video that apparently someone made like 15 years ago on YouTube. And it was supposed to be like quote unquote Cleveland promotion.
Yeah. And
it's like, here's our 2 buildings, and it's like there's nothing in Cleveland. I'm sorry, Cleveland.
The only thing in Cleveland that is traffic.
Yeah, and I the whole time I just listened to the Bowling for Soup song. Come back to Texas. Just not the same since you went away. But it's called Ohio. Come back to Texas. And so I just listened to that the whole time, and it's so
actually
Cleveland with some guy named Leland.
Weirdly, the day that I realized that I had feelings for Dan, what happened, this is a very odd story. I don't think I've ever told anyone this story.
Oh.
It was a Monday. The Saturday night was the night that Tracy told me that I should date Dan, and I told her I didn't understand.
Correct.
Then it was the next Monday. We were at work, and I was not in a good place. It was like 3 weeks after my grandpa died. I just got broken up with. Nothing in my life was a really good time. And we had our team meeting, and then we needed to go. He and I both had a free period after our team meeting, and we both needed to go to the office. So we just walked down to the office together, and we were talking about something. And then it turned to me sitting Indian style in a corner on the floor of the office while he was printing papers, explaining to him that the only things that have ever come out of Ohio are serial killers. And he just kept telling me other things that came out of Ohio. And I was like, yeah, but that's also a bad thing. And like the entire 40 minutes, we just argued about whether or not anything good had ever come out of Ohio. And I left the conversation laughing so hard that I was like, shit.
I do like him.
Shit.
That's
so I guess I have Ohio to thank.
That's amazing. One of my clients is from Cincinnati, so there are some good things that come out of Ohio. I don't know about Cleveland specifically. I mean, I love the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. I'm a huge music
Listen,
person.
MGK came from Cleveland, so I don't
know if
actually.
That's a good argument.
For me,
for you, that's a great argument. But I'm a sucker for a museum. It was really cool. I took a lot of fun pictures, and we got to see all of the artifacts. And Caitlin was less impressed, but she just doesn't like museums, I don't think, as much as I do. But I was very impressed, and I had a great time. We were there for a couple hours, so highly recommend if you're ever driving past Cleveland for some reason, just pull over the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame and check it out. It's not terribly expensive, and it's worth it.
But also, my favorite baseball team's in Cleveland, so.
What is wrong with you? Everything you like is in Cleveland, and you're just like,
I hate Cleveland. No, I hate Cleveland except for MGK and the Cleveland Guardians.
And the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. You just don't know that yet.
Right. Okay.
Mm-hmm. It's amazing. How are you?
I'm great. This past weekend was my Bachelorette extravaganza. And it started with Thursday night, me and my sisters and my best friend Jill went out to dinner, and we ordered so much food.
Yeah.
It was obnoxious.
Where'd y'all go?
We went to this place called the Griffin Gastropub, which is down in Lewiston, and they have like they are a pub, like they have like really cool beers and stuff, but they're a gastropub, so they do really interesting things. Like one of my favorite things they have on their menu is they have a wild game burger, and they rotate what the wild game is. It was duck the day we were there, which wasn't great, but I said that I need to start like stalking their website for when ostrich comes back, because they never have it, but I love it. They sometimes have bison, sometimes they have kangaroo, which is interesting.
I've had kangaroo.
But it's usually tends to be like elk or duck, because they're more common.
Yeah.
But so like we got poutine,
I love
and
poutine.
My favorite thing on their menu are, they're basically like mozzarella sticks on the appetizer, but they're called fried grilled cheese, and they're little square bite-sized fried cheese that come with a tomato soup aioli.
Bro, that
It's amazing. But so I got clams.
I love clams.
Bree got basically like an elote, like a Mexican corn chowder dip. Gabby got pot stickers, and Jill got Maryland crab cake something. There was like something with crab cakes in them. Like it was crazy.
Yeah.
But then we also got like poutine and fried mac and cheese to share.
So you got seafood, Mexican, Asian, and American.
Yeah.
Midwest.
Yeah.
And Canada.
And Canada.
Canada.
And that was just our appetizers. And then we ordered full meals.
I thought those were your
No.
meals.
That was just our appetizers. Then we also ordered meals, and literally all of us looked at our entrees and went, what are we doing?
Yeah. I'm really upset now. I think I was probably in Pennsylvania at the time you went. Because I lived there. That's where I was most of Thursday, my 10-hour drive.
Yeah. But yeah, so that was Thursday night, and then Friday was a roller coaster of a day, but we won't get into all of those details. But we had, it was like a Jack and Jill barbecue, so all of the groomsmen were invited also, and we had families there, so it was like everyone and their partners. And we were outside in my backyard under a pop-up tent, and it was raining so hard that it was like thundering and lightning, and we thought the pop-up tent was gonna like get struck by lightning.
I was so sad that if I would have known we were driving back Thursday instead of Friday, because we were supposed to drive back Friday morning, then I would have changed my flight, but I didn't know until like Wednesday that we were coming back Thursday.
Oh my god. But
I was so bummed.
It was so much fun. We were playing like card games, and it was like all Bachelorette themed card games, so there was like inappropriate questions, and I kept like pulling cards and then looking at Dan and being like, all right, so
story time.
Well, especially because like his sister is one of my bridesmaids / best friends, and the number of times that her and I just looked at each other and we were like, all right, Dan, you're not allowed to listen this time.
Close your ears.
And so then that was a lot of fun. And then Saturday morning, I went and picked Courtney up at the airport. Of course, I forgot to mention that on Friday I went to the Erie County Fair with my sister and the kids. So like even though that was not about me, that was for her and the Bachelorette. But like it was great. But so then Saturday morning I picked Courtney up, and Courtney and my sisters and Elizabeth and I went for high tea. And it was very nice, and it was in the prettiest hotel.
It was gorgeous. I didn't realize it was a bed and breakfast, so we left.
Yeah.
This was another day I did not sleep for roughly 40 hours.
Yeah.
So before I actually made it to bed. So I'm like, got out of the airport into the car. We came back here. Everyone but me changed because I changed before, and then we left. So like.
Yeah. But so we had our tea, and we took cute pictures in the rain, and then we came back, and I abandoned Courtney to take a nap. And then Elizabeth came back over and we had our charcuterie night. It was supposed to be a Disney movie night, and we all had Disney themed charcuterie boards. But then we neglected to ever put a movie on, and we just ate food and played charades.
It is so much fun,
It was the most fun I've ever had in my life. And then the next morning...
No, your day's not over.
My day's not over. Oh, yes. Right, my day's not over because then we only stopped playing the games because we realized it was 11:15 and we had to pick Rachel up at the airport at midnight.
Yeah.
Because her flight was delayed 800 times.
Yeah, it was a rough day for Rachel, but
then when we picked Rachel up at the airport, Gene Simmons was there.
he was on the midnight flight, I guess.
So that was cool.
That was wild.
It was interesting because the traffic was so bad that I was like, there's no reason for the airport to be this insane at 12:30 in the morning. And then Rachel sent us a picture and was like, who is this guy? And I was like, that looks like Gene Simmons. And
I was
Courtney
like, that's
goes, holy
definitely
shit,
Gene
that
Simmons.
is Gene Simmons. And then we actually got to like the arrivals to pick her up, and Gene Simmons was literally just like standing next to my car. It was fucking insane.
It was so wild.
So then we finally go to bed.
No. You went to bed.
Oh, I went to bed.
Then me and Rachel hadn't seen each other in a week and a half, so we're up till 3 a.m.
Because they're idiots.
Just catching up.
So then the next morning, when Courtney and I were supposed to be watching the episodes for the podcast, we were both sleeping.
Because I hadn't slept for over 40 hours.
But then we went to a cider mill.
Which was a request of mine.
It was a request of Courtney's, but also it's my favorite place in the whole
It's
world.
amazing.
And we got apple cider slushies and donuts and candy apples and apple cider and all of the things. And we sat outside and ate donuts, and it was very sweet. And then we were supposed to go to another event that night, but the weather was not good, and I was like not in a mental headspace to be able to handle it. And also, like, Elizabeth had already texted me that she was like stressed out and didn't feel like she could go out late, and like we were like, you know what, let's just not. So then we didn't, and we were going to play more games, but then my sister was we lost my sister because the babies were... The problem is when my nieces come to town, they don't follow a normal sleep schedule until they are like more comfortable. So then by like this 4th or 5th day that they're here, they're finally like sleeping early. But my sister's so exhausted from 5 days of them refusing to sleep at normal times that it's like wild, and then they leave. So like it's awful. But so then Monday was not officially part of the Bachelorette Weekend, but we still had some girls' time. We finally did play games with my sister again.
We did.
And Dan came over to meet Courtney and Rachel, and then Courtney and Rachel and I went out to the melting pot for dinner for girls' night.
And I finally tried their espresso martini, and it's delicious.
Yes. So it was just very fun. But also I'm still wearing white. I've worn white like every day for the past like 8 days, which is really stressful for me because I spill things all of the time. I do have a little stain. Mm-hmm. It's my hair is hiding it.
Yeah, I'll never know.
But yeah, so it's been very nice and just real refreshing. I was gonna say relaxing, but it hasn't been. I've been exhausted every moment because that's a lot of peopling.
A lot of people, a lot of things.
But it's all people that I like and things that I like, so it was nice.
Yeah.
But you know what I also like?
Your spiritual health?
I do like spiritual health.
Yes. I was like, what are you
She's like, what am I supposed to be doing right now?
I am so prepared. Don't even worry about it. Dwell on the beauty of life. Watch the stars and see yourself running with them. Marcus Aurelius.
I love Marcus Aurelius.
I know you do.
Good times.
Good times. So,
you know what else I love?
Stargate?
I do love Stargate. And this episode. Wow. Alright. We're talking about Stargate SG-1 Season 6, Episode 14, Smoke and Mirrors.
Oh, that's a great name.
Yeah. It is...
Did not read the name earlier when we watched it.
It was rated 7.8 stars.
It was a little low.
It feels a little low. I like this episode.
And it had like callbacks to other episodes,
Yeah.
which it wasn't like just a one-off. That's low. I disagree.
Yeah. It came out on January 24th, 2003. Which feels like a really long time ago.
It was a really long time ago.
We have the same song from last week, which, if I
No one knows.
remember
Everyone knows but
correctly, it was also the same song as the week before. It was "Lose Yourself" by Eminem.
Oh, of course.
That makes sense.
Yes.
The number one book was Crossroads of Twilight by Robert Jordan, which is apparently part of the Wheels of Time series, which I vaguely heard that title. I could not tell you a single thing about it.
I bought the first book because one of my writing partners wrote high fantasy.
Yeah.
And he was like, you have to read these books. And he was like, I'd start with Wheel of Time. You're going to like those better than starting with like Brandon Sanderson.
Okay.
So I bought the first one.
Cool.
That is the end. I did not read it. I do not currently own it, I don't think. I think it went with the move.
Great.
But I did purchase it at one time.
Cool.
And so I was going to read it. They have a TV show, but Robert Jordan died halfway through the series, and someone else has had to pick it up. But
the number one movie I know less about than the book. It's called Darkness Falls.
I've heard of that.
It's a horror movie about the Tooth Fairy.
Yeah, I have not watched it, but I am familiar with its existence.
Yeah, no, I got nothing.
Maybe I'll watch it this year in my Horror Watch.
On this day, call back to last week when we talked about things that I cannot believe happened in 2003, the Department of Homeland Security officially opened.
Can I tell you that I have said that fact to approximately 30 people since you've told me, because it has blown my mind. It just keeps coming up.
It just keeps coming up. But also, my parents were like, well, yeah. And I was like, just because you were old when it happened, the rest of us were unaware that this did.
Yeah. No, I don't remember who it came up in a trivia, I think, and then I just went off the rails.
Yeah,
I just went off the rails.
The other thing that I have that happened that day is really interesting. A judge threw out a lawsuit against McDonald's because someone sued McDonald's for making them obese, and the judge said, "That's your fault."
Yeah.
But it was like a big deal because then they cited the ad campaign that McDonald's France had at the time that quite literally said, "Eat McDonald's once a week, no more."
Also not relevant though.
Right.
That's a whole different country. And
Right. No. But the judge was like,
oh, the judge referenced.
The judge was like, even their ad campaigns tell you not to eat it every day. If you chose to, that's on you.
Right. Totally fair.
Which was absolutely wonderful. I love when the court agrees with me that people are stupid.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a lot.
This episode was directed by Peter DeLuise, written by Catherine Powers. The story was written by Catherine Powers, and the teleplay was written by Joseph Malosi and Paul Mully. And it was edited by Brad Rines. So nobody knew there.
No surprises.
Our guest is Peter Fleming, who played Agent Barrett. He was known for Dead Rising 2, Stargate, and I See You, spelled EYE.
Okay.
I found exactly nothing interesting about him in terms of his career. But he was born in Halifax, Nova Scotia. And he actually didn't want to be an actor. He wanted to be a gym teacher. He competed in like 4 different sports at a national level in Canada and somehow settled on acting.
That feels like a strange, like, I guess I'll be an actor.
Yeah. Like he was pretty, I guess.
Sure.
But also, he is a Tibetan Buddhist who like regularly meets with monks, and he has a whole second social media presence separate from his normal presence that is just an account where he teaches people to do daily meditation.
That is the wildest thing that I've ever heard in my whole life.
So if you were watching this episode and watching Agent Barrett throw himself on top of Sam to save her from a bomb, just think, that man is a Buddhist meditation teacher. / former national curling champion.
That is bonkers. And he looks like the guy who plays Agent Coulson. I'm gonna find him in a second. Have you watched enough to know Agent Coulson?
Yes, I know Agent Coulson. It's not the same person.
I know it's not the same person, but they look so similar.
I don't think they do at all. Personally.
He looks older.
His head is rounder.
Peter Fleming. Let's look up Peter Fleming. And look at his head.
She doesn't believe me.
I don't. Okay, so see, this is him.
Yeah. His head is a rectangle. His head is an oval.
But they have similar, like their eyes are similar.
Their eyes aren't even the same color.
They don't have to be the same color to be the same shape. Goodness gracious. They're very similar. Just let me have my comparison.
And we start this episode with the previously on reminding us about the Mayborn, Jack, and Kinsey hate triangle and the secret society of the NID. And then the episode actually starts with someone taking out a gun in a hotel room. Very Las Vegas shooter. I did not really care for the visuals. And shooting Senator Kinsey.
Which, as I said when we were watching it, I don't hate that this is what's happening. I don't like the way it's being done.
But we have no idea who the shooter is except for one slight glance at his eyes that Courtney goes, that kind of looks like Jack. Then he walked out of the hotel room, and it was Jack. Mm-hmm. And then it was the credits.
Yep.
But after the credits, we're back at the SGC, and Jack has just arrived back from vacation to find the rest of his team watching the news, where they are now informing Jack, who has no idea what's going on, that Senator Kinsey is dead. And Jack's like, guys, like, I know I didn't like him, but like...
But also...
What is happening? And he genuinely seems like he has no idea what's going on. And then General Hammond arrives with 2 Air Force soldiers and arrests Jack for the assassination of Senator Kinsey.
What a time. What a time.
The whole team is confused by all of this. But Major Davis brings the evidence to explain everything to General Hammond and has video evidence of Jack leaving the hotel with a case after the shooting. And, oh yeah, also has proof that the case was dumped at Jack's cabin with the gun in it.
Yeah. It's pretty hard evidence.
Like, the team still thinks Jack is innocent, but, like, because they're like, he doesn't have a motive. Yeah. Like, in fact, he has a motive to keep Kinsey alive. And they're like, any information that we have that would prove, like, that would show he didn't have a motive is literally classified.
Yeah.
So Hammond and the president are both like, we don't want this to go any farther, but we can't do anything. So Hammond is like, I'm going to have you guys not go off-world and just use this time to figure this out. So Teal'c and Jonas go to see Jack in prison and, like, tell him what's going on. And they're like, we need something. And Jack has no alibi because his vacation was him fishing alone.
Yeah.
Teal'c thinks it's on purpose and that whoever is framing Jack knew he'd be alone.
Which, yeah.
While discussing all of the possibilities, Sam brings up the mimic devices, which we have not seen since season 3. Mm-hmm. But luckily, Jonas has never seen them. So we get a little bit of story time. And Sam and Hammond fill Jonas in on the foothold situation that we had in season 3, where everybody was being taken over on the base by these aliens with their mimic devices, and the fact that because the security was so high, the records of that event have been wiped from the files, which is why Jonas doesn't know anything about it. We also find out that it was the president who ordered that mission file to be wiped, not General Hammond. So Sam goes to Area 51 to check on the status of the mimic devices, and all 12 of them are there, but, surprise, they're fake. So none of the 12 are there. All of them gone.
Yeah.
So they figure out they need to find out whoever is pretending to be Jack, because now they're pretty confident that this is in fact someone pretending to be Jack. But they can't clear Jack because they can't explain to the police the mimic devices.
Real catch-22.
We do find out that the scanner device that we saw in the Foothold episode that actually created the ability to mimic people was never taken. So these devices that are there are only able to be the 12 people that were already mimicked and no one else. So we know that the people that can be mimicked include Jack, Daniel, and Janet, but that General Hammond, Sam, and Teal'c were never... Well, General Hammond was copied, but that alien died.
Right.
But Sam and Teal'c were never copied. So the three of them are safe and you can trust anything that they say.
Yeah.
Which is convenient writing, but also actually true.
Yeah.
So it worked. I'm a little bummed that they didn't have somebody just pretending to be Daniel. Like, we don't all think Daniel's quote-unquote dead.
Mm-hmm.
Because we know he's ascended and not on Earth, but I don't know what the Earth records would say.
That's true. That's, yeah.
Like, because they'd have to, like, explain...
I bet they don't have a death certificate on him.
Probably not.
It's gotta be just like he's undercover at the SGC.
I don't know. But they had a body that died on the base. So maybe
he does have a death certificate.
He must have a death certificate.
Yeah.
Like, he must be officially classified as dead.
Mm-hmm.
Weird. But so Jonas and Teal'c are going to go through all the personnel files of anyone who had access to the 12 devices just to figure out if there's any inconsistencies, or they can figure out who may have taken them. While Sam's going to Washington to visit an old friend. Courtney got really excited at that moment and thought we were going to see Mayborn.
And then my hopes were dashed instantly.
I didn't have the heart to tell her that couldn't have been possible, because Mayborn would never be in Washington because he's still on the run for his life.
I do understand that logically. I do understand that, but I was like, Jack and Mayborn are already besties, now it's Sam's turn.
Yes. No, Sam was going to visit Agent Barrett, who, for those of you who don't remember, we have met already. He was one of the agents who was involved in the chase for Martin and his alien friends in the 100th episode of Wormhole Extreme. He had as much personality as a tub of plain Greek yogurt in his first episode, so it's fair that you didn't remember him.
Right. There was a lot of other things that were exciting happening in that episode.
Correct. Teal'c and Jonas do find out that there is a scientist from this project who mysteriously died in a car accident 3 weeks ago. Sam just unhingedly immediately accuses the NID of being behind everything that has happened. She's like, well, you guys did this, and you guys did this, and you guys did this. And he was like, what is wrong with you? But then also secretly slipped her a piece of paper saying that to meet him at a park.
Right. So,
when he meets her at the park, he explains to her that everything in the NID offices is recorded point blank period because of the nature of what they do. But before we get into what they discuss, he starts their conversation at the park by saying that this newspaper that he was reading in 2003 said that by the year 2075, the oceans will be so hot that all of the coral reef will die.
I already forgot about this.
And then we will die. So I went on a little experimental tangent.
And I said, I bet it's sooner than that now.
And what I found is that it is, in fact, now predicted to happen in the year 2070, not 2075.
And Mary Kate's all like, "Oh, don't worry, I'll be long dead by then." I was like, "You'll be 80. Like, you could still be alive."
But then I did some more research, and I decided I will be dead by then because I will have killed myself. Currently, globally, right now, at this very second that we are recording this, which is 12:05 a.m. on August 22nd, 2024, there are only 43.6% of coral reefs left in America. In the world. The current predictions are that by 2070, or by the year 2050, 75% of all coral reefs left will be at a critical threat level. And by 2070, they will all be gone. However, what I find more distressing is that there are countdowns on this website, which I'm looking at, which is called theworldcounts.com. And the countdown...
This is my least favorite thing
that I've ever said.
That you've ever said to me.
I told you. I warned you. In 75 years, 131 days, 23 hours, 53 minutes, and 42 seconds, we will not have a single rainforest left in the world. In 23 years...
Jesus Christ.
In 23 years, 131 days, 23 hours, 53 minutes, and 28 seconds, there will be no seafood left because the oceans will have gotten to a point where fish cannot be alive.
I'm going to be like for real alive then.
Right, and that's why I saw the 23 years till we run out of seafood, and I was like, oh no, but I'm just gonna die.
I don't like this. I don't like the situation we're having right now. It's making me very
in case
stressed.
Anybody wants to be really upset, I tried to figure out if the newspaper predictions of 2003 were correct and found out that I only have 20 years left to live.
If you also wanted to have an existential crisis today, go to this terrible website that Mary Kate has discovered.
Yeah. I'm sure by the time this episode is published and you look at this, the numbers will be more distressing.
That is true.
Yeah.
The world only gets worse every day. So...
I can't live without seafood.
I can't live with the knowledge that things are ending as soon as 23 years from now.
My
seafood
children
is not going to be the only thing.
Right.
That's
Like, my children won't be done with college, and they will not have fish. Or, like, ocean water.
We'll just start praying for revelations. Maybe we'll have ascended like Daniel before then.
One can only hope.
One can only hope.
But in positive news, Agent Barrett is apparently working with the president to root out the shadow organization within the NID, and he's doing it by himself because the NID can't be trusted. And so he wants Sam's help. And they have a very strange conversation about trust.
Yeah.
In which Courtney yelled at the TV that Sam should just admit she's in love with Jack, but that was...
That is what I said. That is what I said.
So then the SGC, back at the SGC, our team that's still working in Colorado, discovers that Dr. Langen, who is the one that we thought died, or who mysteriously died 3 weeks ago, his death was in fact definitely actually falsified, because in their attempt to make it seem as if this was an accident and he couldn't possibly have died of any wayward causes like drugs or alcohol, they neglected to recognize the alcohol or the drugs that needed to be in his bloodstream to keep him alive, therefore making it obvious that the body that was found was not his.
I'm sorry, after all of the distress I've been put through, I need to eat some chocolate.
That's fine. My chocolate's downstairs.
Do you want some of mine?
No, not so much to eat all your lovely chocolates.
I think these are the same.
Okay.
I think I stole that one from you. I think Rachel stole that one from you.
Oh, okay. So, then Agent Barrett takes Sam to an illegal gun shop and discovers that Jack came to buy a gun, but when he was there, he touched another one. So Sam buys that gun to run it for fingerprints.
Like a genius.
So smart. which don't match Jack. So Sam asks Agent Barrett to check the NID personnel, because obviously somebody sneaking into an illegal gun shop of that caliber is not going to be somebody who has their records in any criminal record database. But if the whole point is that we think somebody in the NID is behind this, check the NID. While checking databases that I didn't know were real, Janet is using a pharmacological database to find someone with a very specific prescription.
Those are for sure real.
That, like, you can just get into?
I can't. But Janet can. I'm sure.
The
Air Force can.
But here's my thing. My biggest thing with that is less about the ability for her as a doctor in the Air Force to do that, and more about the lack of trust that the pharmacy companies are willing to share all of their drug information like that. And like private hospitals writing prescriptions, they don't have to share it.
No, for sure. But like pharmacies probably have to share it. That's probably where most of it comes from.
Yeah, but
that's not the whole world. That's not even 60% of it. But
yeah,
it's better than nothing.
True. But she's using this prescription drug that was not in his system but should have been to identify wherever he actually is still alive in his false identity. Barrett does find the prints within the NID database. My next note just says Teal'c and Jonas head out. Teal'c drives.
Top-notch note.
Because I wanted to make sure that we discussed the quote that Teal'c says, because Jonas asks him how he learned to drive, and he says that Daniel taught him, and he said, "Oh, when was that?" Teal'c says, "I believe it was the year 1969," which probably made no sense to Jonas. But I died.
It was so funny. Also, on that similar note, I have 2 comments.
Yeah.
They sent the 2 aliens to talk to Jack after being like, everything we have that's helpful is classified. We can't let this get out. And they're like, so we're going to send the 2 people that aren't people to this place.
To be fair, he was in an Air Force prison in Colorado still. He hadn't been transferred to Washington.
But all of those people don't have access to...
Oh, no, I know.
Stargate. So that was my first thought. Second, maybe Jonas didn't freak out about the year because I've just learned that other countries have different year structures. So maybe he was just like, yeah, I've been to Thailand. I know that years aren't the same everywhere.
So, we actually just had a very interesting conversation about this weekend, about how, despite the fact that we tend to think of the calendar as a fixed thing and a secular thing because the government uses it, and calendars are actually religious.
Yeah.
All of them. And so the year 2024 is because it is theoretically 2024 years after the birth of Jesus. But in the Middle East, the Arabic world, they use their calendar based on the year that Muhammad made his... What is the word?
I do not remember. I remember hearing
Hijra,
it and thinking...
Hijra.
Yeah,
Hijra, I think.
Hijri.
Hijri, yes. I was like, if I'm saying that wrong, it's not because I just forgot the word. The Hijri, so I believe my sister said it's like
14.
It's like 1400 something.
Something, yeah.
In Thailand, the calendar is based off of the birth of Buddha. So it is actually the year 2563 in Thailand right now. Or no, 2567. So
maybe it was like 1969. Sure, you were in a different country.
You're just in a different part of the world. Yeah, Courtney was really, really shocked by all of this information.
I was. I find myself to be a relatively smart person, but I understand other cultures pretty well. I think. No idea about this calendar situation. No idea.
To be fair, I only know the situation with the Thai calendar as closely as I do because my passport stamps all say 63 on them.
Yeah.
So the aliens, the buddy cop aliens, are they go to a house to see David Zweidel, which is what they believe the false identity of Dr. Langham is, and thank God for Jonas's insane memory, because he figures out that he definitely has seen this guy before and that it was an Air Force, like an airman who was in the SGC, who must be one of the 12 people. And Teal'c and Jonas take the mimic device off of him. Bless you.
Thank you.
I waited for the second one because I knew the second one was coming. They take the mimic device off him, prove that it is Dr. Lehman, take him back to the SGC. Teal'c and Jonas can't get him to talk. Then they're discussing with General Hammond what to do about getting him to talk. General Hammond's like, remember, we have to be a little bit careful because we're, like, breaking the law a lot right now. So Teal'c goes, I know what's careful. My eyebrows. And he goes to talk, and by talk I mean stare, at Dr. Lehman until he agrees to give them everything. Which Courtney thought was done way too quickly, but having met Christopher Judge, I would also give in to his eyebrows that quickly. So then Sam and Barrett go to Devlin, who is the NID agent that they have identified. They go to his house and find a bomb. Good. There is an almost moment of sort of attempt at sexual tension for Sam when Barrett like lands on her and doesn't like know what to do. He's protecting her from the bomb, and she just goes, "Get up."
And I was like, yes, yes.
So Dr. Langham tells the SGC team about the committee, which is a group of businessmen who are basically like the Elon Musks and Mark Zuckerberg and Donald Trump
And Bill Gates
of this fictional world, where it's just a bunch of old white men who have enough money to control the government without actually controlling the government.
Yeah.
I guess technically Mark Zuckerberg's
But
not
also
that old,
kind of control the government. He's not that old.
but the suit fits.
Yeah. It's like the younger brother.
Oh, Jeffrey Bezos should be in the committee too.
Oh,
Yeah.
for sure.
Also, I think Donald Trump doesn't get to be in the committee anymore because I think he went bankrupt enough to have to run for... I think what actually happened is the reason he ran for president is because he was too bankrupt to continue being in the committee.
Yeah, probably.
I never thought about it that way before, but I think that kind of makes sense.
Yeah.
Huh. Sorry, I just can't stop thinking about that weird AI video I watched. There was a weird AI video that I saw that, like, made Donald Trump and Kamala Harris make out, and it was...
They'd have a whole life and a baby together. It was
horrible and
it was
awful,
very unsettling.
and it was a hate crime against everyone who watched it, and specifically against both Donald Trump and Kamala Harris. It was horrible.
Yeah, it was pretty bad. It was pretty bad.
But, I mean, the point of the video when I saw it was to explain how quick we are to believe AI and, like, the media when we have no idea what we're actually watching, and I appreciated the context. I did not appreciate the images that are burned into my brain.
The sentiment was there.
Yeah. So basically these businessmen just buy shit from rogue NID agents and use a secret government alien technology to create patents for things and then sell them to people and take all of our money and subjugate us to a fake version of capitalistic monarchy that we are just stuck in.
Yeah.
Was that too real? It's late. My hatred for the world is coming out.
Well, you know, that's what happens. And the world sucks.
They also
die in 20 years anyways.
True.
What matters?
Then they offer him off-world relocation as, like, they're like, he was like, you can't help me.
Yeah.
You don't have a witness protection program. He was like, they were like, yeah, but we literally have alien planets.
Yeah, he was like, you have to find a way to protect me if I, like, help you.
Yeah.
And they're like, great, we will send you to a different planet.
Wherever you want to go. Sam and Barrett are talking, and they're trying to figure out who to trust, and he's still kind of skeptical about trusting anyone in the SGC. And she's like, if you want to trust me, you trust my team, and his tiny little penis goes, okay.
It is getting late.
And they are trying to discover who the source is and, like, who they're getting information from on all sides of this equation. And so Sam finally comes clean and explains everything that they have going on at the SGC and what the foothold situation was and who their source is. And Barrett responds by explaining that Senator Kinsey's not dead!
Yay.
He's in a coma, and they're just pretending that he's dead and keeping his body safe so that they can figure out who is behind this, since Senator Kinsey was about to expose the rogue NID agents and continue protecting the SGC, despite the fact that we hate him. So the Pentagon is sending Major Davis to the hospital to keep charge of Senator Kinsey's body, but unfortunately, Major Davis is one of the 12.
Really unfortunate.
Really unfortunate. Again, convenient, but also definitely factually accurate to season 3.
Mm-hmm.
But that's not surprising because Catherine Powers wrote the Foothold episode. So
That'll do it. That'll do it.
So then Devlin goes in as Davis, and he's getting ready to shoot Kinsey. And then we get this really interesting cutaway scene where we're seeing the future and the past at the same time and trying to figure out what is happening. Because while we're watching Davis go to shoot Kinsey, Devlin is telling the committee about having successfully killed Senator Kinsey. But what we're seeing in the flashback is not that. We're seeing that a fire alarm stops him, and as he goes to chase Senator Kinsey's body throughout the hospital, Sam zats him and takes the mimic device away from him. While this is going on, the committee is explaining to Devlin that the only other weak link that they need to do, like get rid of before they can really truly have control over the situation, is General Hammond. He's the only one who knows too much and is not on their side. So they're trying to plan a way to take out General Hammond, but they can't really just go and take him out because he's fully aware of the situation and everyone who's on the mimic device list. So instead they threaten his grandchildren.
As they do.
But turns out Sam's wearing the mimic device, being Devlin, and the 6.5 minutes that she's able to stay in cloaking is a record for a lab-created mimic device. So woot woot to technology, but also to Barrett coming in and arresting the entire committee.
Absolutely.
Then, of course, Senator Kinsey needs to explain to the world that he's not really dead, and that as president, he will make sure that the people who are trying to assassinate him, to stop them from having whatever bullshit thing it was that he said he was doing for his investigation of the truth. And then thanks Jack and explains that Jack being arrested was part of the plan and that it was a cover. And they shake hands and he tells Jack, "You just won me the presidency."
Punch him in the face. Right there. I hate that man so much.
Yeah.
I hate him so much.
It's not great. But I only have one piece of trivia, and it's very funny.
Ooh, okay.
To me. They were going to specifically name the guns. There are 3 guns that are like important in the episode, and they have the silencer on the one gun and the illegal gun shop and obviously the gun that killed him, and they were going to specifically name the gun. So the script coordinator for the episode, who I apologize, I did not write his name down. Matt sent a letter to the Remington company to ask about the use of the name of their gun, and they responded by asking if their gun would be used in a positive manner and for its intended purpose. And knowing that the gun was going to be used in an assassination, the script coordinator was like, oops, and they did not, and they then never named the model of gun that shot Senator Kinsey, because unfortunately assassinations are not a positive manner or the intended use of that gun.
Correct. That is correct.
Yeah. So, what are your thoughts, theories, feelings?
You know, I don't have a ton of theories. I do believe that Kinsey will end up in the presidency, and I will just want to punch him in the face for the rest of my life. I am not ready to trust Barrett yet. I understand he's not like a major character in the show, but I'm getting vibes that he's gonna be like a reverse Mayborn. So like we hated Mayborn, but now he's like kind of still sucks some days, but he's like our bestie. Mm-hmm. And so I feel like he's kind of like, I'm in because it works for me today, but like, what if it doesn't next time? He's happy to take another route. And so I don't know if that's true or not. I don't know if I'm just getting bad vibes, but...
Well, I will neither confirm nor deny anything you're feeling, as is my duty.
Right, yes.
But I think it's interesting that you feel that way.
It is, and I don't know, maybe he's a bad actor if that's not what he intends.
I mean, I do think he just kind of screams vanilla 90s boy, but that's just me.
Yeah, he does. I don't know. I'm gonna guess these mimics are done. I don't know what they're doing with those, but...
What?
The mimics.
Oh.
I feel like we've overdone it now.
It's only been twice.
Yeah, but like, what's left? I don't know. And we have so many other things that are like cloning-esque, like...
Fair enough.
To use these mimic devices. Doesn't mean they won't bring them back. It just means I think they've done them enough. I think that's... I mean, I don't know what's going to happen with these committee people, but I think they're probably done. They got arrested. They've been found. It's kind of like when we got Mayborn's team.
Yeah.
Like samesies.
Well, in that case, who do you want to punch?
Kinsey until the day I die. Forever, always.
I'm gonna go with Devlin, just because he's the bad guy. And other than Kinsey, nobody really annoyed me. So.
Yeah, that's really fair.
Yeah. Although, maybe I should punch Dr. Langham, because he's the one who actually, like...
He caused a little bit of issue.
He's the one who was like, I just want to have money.
Kind of a coward.
Yeah, because he did it for the money.
For sure. To the detriment of the world.
Literally.
Yeah.
Although, it's hard to call Senator Kinsey being assassinated the detriment of the world, but unfortunately...
Well, you know that's also not the end. Like, that wouldn't have been the last thing they did.
Yeah.
Like, they're getting ready to take over SGC.
Yeah. So, who's your MVP?
Oh, Sam. No question. She's, even with her sometimes unhinged choices, she really got to the end of everything.
That's fair. I think Sam is a good one. I do think Jonas and Janet and Hammond all actually did a lot of really good work in this episode as well.
They did.
But because I think that the whole SGC team kind of acted as one in the opposite of Sam, I'm going to pick Teal'c's eyebrows.
Also an excellent choice. Excellent choice.
Well, and just Teal'c in general, because he learned to drive in 1969 and then used his eyebrows as a weapon. And that honestly feels like the kind of life I want to live.
Yeah. Oh, gosh. What a life. Yeah. I'm in.
They still had coral reefs in the 60s.
Oh, that's true. That's true.
All right. Well, for the first time in a while, I can actually give you like a teaser for another episode.
Goodness.
Because like we haven't watched 57 episodes. You will be excited at who comes back next week.
Is it Braytac?
I'm not telling you. I will not. Although we have had a lot of Braytech this season.
We have had a lot of Braytech, but I just always get excited when he's back.
I know.
So.
Yeah, so if you have any thoughts, theories, questions, feelings about the coral reefs, places that we can do research on ways to not die in 20 years, please email us at deathandaliens@gmail.com or follow us on all of the social media at Death and Aliens. You can follow me everywhere at EMKAY_superstar.
And you can find me at CECloud13.
With that, we'll see you next week. Bye.